Governor, this is far from the first State of the State that you've attended. It's the first time you'll be looking at the audience, though, at least in this capacity. Tell me a little bit about what you hope to convey to the people of Michigan and the people in that chamber. We know over the past couple of years what your priorities are, but now it goes from this is what I would do if I'm elected to how I'm going to do the things I said I would do now that I am elected.
Right. Well, and here's what the magnitude of the problem is. I mean, the State of the State will be tomorrow night, and then the budget presentation is just a few weeks later. And so tomorrow night, I really want to make sure that people understand some of the challenges that we're facing. We are up to the challenges. We will meet them. We will make this a place where our kids stay and our families can thrive. We have to have a real sober conversation about what it's going to take and what not doing it costs us. We have bridges that have hundreds of temporary supports holding them up. We have communities that cannot drink their water. And we have study after study telling us we are losing ground when it comes to the education of our kids and the skills gap. That's what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow night.
Who are you talking to when you give a speech like this? The people of the state of Michigan have already said we identify with the things you say you want to do, and they gave you their votes in November. Now the votes that really matter about getting things done are those 148 legislators sitting there in front of you. So who is this message directed to the most?
All of the above. Certainly the people weighed in during an election, but they have to continue to. In order to get the legislature to address some of these issues, they need to hear from their constituents. They need to know that the hundreds of dollars that we're spending to fix our cars is money that's coming out of rent or child care or from a business's bottom line. They need to know how many communities across our state can't drink the water, may never trust government again. And they need to hear from educators and parents alike about taking Michigan from back of the pack in education to becoming a leader and what that means for people in every district in our state. These are not Republican or Democratic issues. These are Michigan issues. And we all need to be a part of the solution, and the public needs to weigh in. The legislature needs to be a partner, and I'm ready to work with everyone who wants to solve these problems. But we all have a role to play.
One of the things that you will describe in the budget process, as that comes later in the month, I presume, but will you talk about revenues in the sense that I believe in our discussions before you have said that yes, there will have to be new revenues if you're going to really fix some of these problems that you outlined during the campaign and you mentioned here today. Will that be part of your message?
I'll be laying out the magnitude of the problem. I'll be laying out some of the challenges that we have in government. We went into all of the departments. I've met with state employees. We had landing teams come in and make recommendations about issues we've got to fix. I'll be putting out a real plan about closing the skills gap. And then a few weeks later, I'll introduce the budget that really has that's where the rubber meets the road.
I've got about 2.5 minutes. I want to do this real quickly. 40 plus days behind this desk, but not very much of it behind this desk. You've been out across the state, states of emergency, lots of weather issues, issues with the grid, all of these things that you've been dealing with. What has it been like in these first few weeks?
Well, it's been long, hard days, but you know what? Every single day I'm grateful that I got the opportunity to be here. We got to solve problems together. When Mayor Bliss calls me and says we got a state of emergency in Grand Rapids, I declared the state of emergency and we are going to support the community. When I was in Grand Rapids for the winter warm-up, we had 2,500 people show up, more than we ever expected. People want to know that their government is looking out for them, that it is working, and that we're solving problems. And so it's been a chaotic 40 days, but it's just the beginning, and I think we are encouraged by what we have done and motivated to keep our foot on the gas.
When you think about this job and the things that it entails, you told me in an interview after your election, before your inauguration, that one of the things that keeps you up at night are the things that you don't know are going to happen. You don't know that schools are going to be closed for 15 days. You don't know that the roads are going to be impassable and that there's going to be a fuel emergency. How much of what you have already experienced has been a surprise, and how much of it is just you just kind of roll with it?
Well, every day is different. You know, I literally went from some self-defense training into a meeting with a number of tribal leaders where they smoked a peace pipe. I mean, it's from one minute to the next, you never know what you're going to confront. But here's what I do know, is when I was at the Detroit Auto Show talking to manufacturers and CEOs and suppliers, our skills gap is something that we've got to address. When I'm on the west side of the state and I'm meeting with business people who simply want a level playing field, these are the things that should be, and I believe are universal, that we can tackle together. I want to make Michigan a home for opportunity, where everyone has a level playing field and a great chance at a really great life and quality of life here in Michigan. That's what this is all about. That's what centers me every day, even on the chaotic days that we've had in these first 40.
Final question, talking with the Democratic leader, Senator Ananek, and for those of us on the west side of the state, our schools increasingly have used all of their days that they're allowed. They'll ask for the extension for 3 days, but they'll still have the prospect of going into the summer. Senator Ananek and others have discussed the possibility of some type of legislative forgiveness. And I know you can't make a decision on a bill that hasn't been written, but if something like that were to come up, is that something you would consider?
It is something that I'm open to. I had to declare a state of emergency. We really were on a precipice of losing power to 1 million people during the coldest part of the cold snap a week and a half ago. Schools should not have been in session, and I'm glad that they weren't. We kept people safe because they weren't, and they shouldn't have a penalty for that, and so that's something I absolutely would look to be supportive of.